Have you ever wanted to fuck an alien with your hair? Well, in this movie Avatar, I recently just watched the 2009 Avatar because the next uh new Avatar 2022 is coming out. It already came out and I plan on going to see the movie tonight. And I just wanted to do a movie review. I've been wanting to do movie reviews for a while and I'm going to dive straight into it. So, just looking back, thinking back about I've watched the movie before and I haven't watched it since a long time. Came out in 2009 and last time I remember I was watching it at my grandma's house and I remember thinking the movie was overhyped and I thought the animations were pretty like mid, not very like advanced or high quality is what most people were saying back then. And when I was watching it now, looking back, I was like, holy crap, what the hell was Child Joe thinking? Like, what other movie did you see that had this good CGI animation in a movie? It had such high quality. Like, in the first scenes, oh, I was going to say, no spoil. I mean, there will be spoilers in this, but this movie is 10 plus years ago. Like, this movie this movie came out more than 10 years ago. I was watching this movie and it was doing some space scenes and they were flying through space and the quality of the spaceship alone and all its moving parts was so crisp. Like you're seeing it fly through space and then you see it fly just above Pandora is the planet they called it, but I believe they should have called it something else like Awin, which was the deity of the Navi, but we'll get into that. Um you can see like actual like mountains and ridges on the planet and the cloud formations on the planet as the spaceship was flying past. I thought it looked amazing. And then once they got into the planet and they like landed their ship on like the like airstrip landing, I guess it's a spaceship, but I don't know. Just the fact that there was like a factory in the background with like the um forefront character and then like you could see like the tree lines on the side. The trees looked like high quality trees. I don't know if that was CGI. It could have just been like filmed right there and there just was regular trees cuz a lot of the trees sometimes when it was doing like sky view over the trees looked just like normal ass trees. But once you got into like the jungle part of it, like the jungle was like a huge wow factor. You're like seeing all these plants, all these glowing plants that you don't expect to see. Of course, it's an alien world, but like there's so much to the world where you have like you get a huge wow factor for like everything that is like novelty essentially. Like there's floating like mountains, there's plants that are glowing, the fauna, the animals are all pretty unique except there's one where it's like a hammerhead rhino. I thought that was pretty generic, but like it's still a pretty interesting idea. It kind of reminded me of Avatar, how they like mix animals like mole bears and like flying lemurs. I mean that's not a mix, but you get the point. I thought it was so fascinating. But going into the character was essentially just this guy, washed up Marine who was paralyzed. And then they introduced the doctor. And the doctor was she's a doctor. She just loves plants, essentially. That's about it. And she tried becoming she became an avatar and tried like incorporating herself with the Navi, but she really like all she really cared about was plants. Like even when she was about to die, she's like, I need to pick a sample of the tree of souls or whatever. So there was a guy who was in charge of the whole operation. All he wanted to get was this rock called obtanium, and I thought that that name was ridiculous because, of course, oh, unobtainium, that's what it's called, unobtainium, and of course that rock was ridiculous because like that's such a generic name. Like when you combine a normal word with like ium at the end to make it a rock, and if it's unobtainium, that means you couldn't obtain it, and they never obtained it in the rest of the movie. Wow, what a surprise! The unobtainium deposit happened to be right below the tree where all the Navi lived, and then there were that's what all that guy cared about because the unobtainium equaled money. And then there's the colonel guy where he was just war hungry. He just like, "Ugh, I want to kill somebody. I want to blow shit up, you know? Fast forward, he gets lost in the jungle. He meets the Navi, the main character, when he's in his avatar body. And then he incorporates with the Navi, becomes like one with the Navi, like learns all the things, the way of the world, like finds out that everything is connected, which is such a cool concept. Like everything, I think it's like Gaia is the way I see it, but how the planet is all like one neural network. And so that's why with their hair, they could like connect to everything and be able to like like connect and feel and do everything with each other and stuff. So I thought that was a super cool novelty concept. And then he fucks with it. This girl Natiri is the main like she's the princess of the Navi chief. And so they mate, and when they mate, they're like bound for life. And there was a guy that was initially like destined to get with her, but then after that happened, they just like he got super pissed at this main guy. Early bird gets the worm. The humans come, they call them sky people. They come, blow up their home tree, is what they called it. Super generic names. Home tree is the tree home. So that's one thing I was thinking about. I was like, these names are so generic. But except for the Navi, and then the fact that they actually had their own language, I thought was such a cool idea. They'll actually display subtitles at the bottom that when they're speaking a different language. And over the course of him becoming one with the people, he learns the language, and you get a brief point where he's talking with this other dude who like knows the language very well, and talking about like I see you and what that meant to the Navi versus our language. And I thought that was such a cool like idea because like in language you actually do like talk about those kinds of concepts. So he eventually learns how to speak, how to act, how to do what they do essentially. Overall the quality of the story was pretty good. It's a pretty standard story. I feel like I felt like it was going to end really shortly. Um when you get to the point where the humans blow up home tree, I feel like that like once you get to that point in the movie, it feels like the movies are like pretty much over. That's how long it feels. And then once you realize that there's a whole nother hour left, and you're like, what the hell? What else is there to cover? And that's when he like brings in the allies and he fights back and stuff, and he rallies the troops. And there's still like every like there's still so many scenes where it's like, wow, like this is such a cool idea, and like this is so beautiful, this world's so beautiful, and you grow to realize that like the humans, all they're doing is like destroy, conquer. They want to just take everything. And then Navi are like protect everything, right? So yeah, overall I think it's a pretty good movie. I want to say the main character, he's a great main character. I feel like uh he does he does a good job acting being disabled. The movie only actually took 4 years to develop according to IMDb. It took 4 years to from pre-production to release. And I thought that they were doing like a 10-year gap, like they were doing a 10-year gap, it seems like, from this movie to the next. But the production itself only took 4 years for the first Avatar, which is still a long time. I say like I think a movie usually takes only about 2 years, but yeah. And then there's this one part. There's this one part where the home tree blew up and stuff. The home tree like fell down. It was this crazy like catastrophe. And Natiri goes and runs into her father, and he's about to die, and he's like, "Take my bow." And then in her like language, she was like, "Wakey, wakey." And I was like, it's like she was telling him to wake up after he died. And me and my family were like laughing our asses off. We're like, wakey, wakey. Oh my god, but I thought that was so funny. Anyway, that was about it. And then Stephen Lang, big props to Stephen Lang. I feel like he does a great job being a bad guy because he just looks so intimidating all the time. And you can always tell like he's always thinking about something. You never know what he's thinking about. And but you know it's not good. It's just volatile. So yeah. Overall I rate this movie probably like 9 out of 10. It was a pretty solid movie, especially for how it was in 2009 and the graphics about it. There were some times where like the camera quality was like super shaky, like during the time when he's like trying to fight. He's in the jungle in the first place with the team. The and it's just like the camera angle is just trying to like get a bunch of these cool angles and stuff, but like in the process of the intense scenes, the camera was shaking so much, I was starting to feel like I was getting nauseous. Not really, but like I don't ever get nauseous in movies, but like if I were someone to get nauseous because of camera shake, I feel like I would have gotten nauseous. But I think that could have been a rendering thing and that could have just been like a they couldn't do much about it with their computer, the computer technology they had, and they just wanted to make it more intense. Other than that, yeah, it's a pretty solid movie. I'm gonna be doing these videos more often. I'm gonna try anyway, and I'm just gonna talk about movies that I just recently watched, and I think I've always wanted to do it, and I'm gonna start getting into it. Okay, well, abayo.